So welcome to the advanced Java series. In this series we are going to create a CRUD application, which is an application which will create, retrieve, update and delete. This is an application which will perform these operations on the database, right? So we are going to create a Java application which will connect to the backend database, and it will then it will just perform these operations of insertion, deletion, updation and creation. So we are going to in this tutorial we are going to set up the our project, and we will also set up the database server, the MySQL database server. We are going to use XAMPP server to set up the server, the database server and the MySQL server, and we will connect our application to our database. So let's start with naming our project. So it is a CRUD application, so I'm going to write CRUD app. So we have created the CRUD application here, as you can see, and here is the source folder. In the source folder I will create a default package, or let's create a package here, and let me name it as CRUD pack. And so we have created a package here. Let's create a new file, a new Java class inside this package, and let's name it as main app. Right, so we have created a Java project, CRUD app, and now what we are going to do is let's set up the database server. So for that we will open our browser, and you will have to go to this website www.apachefriends.org/download.html, and you will have to download XAMPP for Windows, or if you are using Linux or Mac OS X, you can even download it for your 64-bit version, right? So XAMPP is basically used to create a database server. So after downloading it, you will have to run the file, and after running the file you will see something like this, and the interface, the app will look different on different platforms. Since I'm running Linux, it looks like this. This is the welcome page. Go on the manage servers page, and then you will have to run these two things, which is the Apache web server and the MySQL database. You will have to press the start button. No need to start pro ftpd. So after you have started that, just go on the configure, and in the configure you will be able to see this port number. Just remember this port number. This is for our Apache web server, and for the MySQL database we will have some other port number like 3304 in my case. So it depends on your machine, the port number can be different. So what you just need to do is you will have to go to a new tab and press localhost /81 /php myadmin. So php myadmin is basically a dashboard for creating our databases. So when you will type this URL in the browser, you will be able to see something like this. So now you can see here there are already some databases here. We are going to create our new database. So press on the new icon, and let's name our database as CRUD. You can set this as this only. So let's create our database. So now database has been created. So now you can create tables inside this database, but we are not going to create it here, because we are going to create tables, and we are going to insert our data in these tables and perform the CRUD applications or the CRUD operations like create, retrieve, update and delete on the table. So we are going to create this table using our Eclipse IDE, using our Java application. Right, so now the next thing you will have to do is you will have to get the MySQL connector jar. So you will have to click this link, and then you will have to click on the first link here, which is the MySQL download connector /j, which is for the Java. So after this you will be directed to this page. Select your operating system if you are using Ubuntu. So let's select it as platform independent, so that it will run on different platforms. Now you will have to download this first link here, which is a tar.gz file. And basically MySQL connector Java is used to connect our Java application to the MySQL server, right? So we will have to connect our Java application to the MySQL server to perform the CRUD operations. So after downloading this file, you will be able to see that this is a tar.gz file. After opening it, you will be able to see this folder. In this folder you will be able to see this file, which is a Java archive file. You will have to extract this file, and then you will see a file like this, which is MySQL connector Java 5.1.39 bin.jar. So now let's go to our Eclipse IDE. And now in the Eclipse IDE, what you will have to do is go on the CRUD app, press right click, go on the build path, and click on this add external archives button. So it will open this dialog. So select this jar file which we have downloaded and press OK. So you can see that in our CRUD app there is a referenced libraries folder, and in this you will be able to see our MySQL connector. So now we are ready to perform the CRUD operations using our Java application. So now we are going to connect to our MySQL database. For that we are going to use JDBC driver, and JDBC driver is basically Java database connector driver. So to understand what JDBC is, let me give you an example. So let's suppose you have a machine, or let's suppose you have a computer and you want to access the inside hardware of that computer. So in order to open any machine, you basically need some tools to open it. For different machines the tools will be different. So if Java wants to access the MySQL server, it will have to make use of some sort of driver, and this driver is known as JDBC driver. And this JDBC driver is used to connect our application, our Java application, to the MySQL database, or to this database. So let me just open localhost /php myadmin. So here we have already created our database, which was the CRUD database. So you can see here, this is our database. So we want to connect our Java application to this database. For that, we will have to use the driver, which is known as the JDBC driver. Right, so let's start connecting our main app to the JDBC driver now. So first, let's import some classes, which is import java.sql driver manager. So driver manager is basically used to manage the JDBC driver and to connect to our database, right? So now we will import java.sql.connection class, which is used to make a connection to our MySQL database. Then we are going to import the SQL exception class, which is used to handle the SQL exception. And SQL exception is basically, it occurs when there is some error in your SQL queries. So first thing we have to do is we will have to see here, we will have to see whether the JDBC driver is registered or not. So we have downloaded this JDBC driver. You can see that this is the connector, and if you will expand it, you will be able to see that it contains JDBC driver, and this JDBC has a driver class also. You can see here that it contains a driver class. So to check whether this class exists or not, or whether the user, or whether you have imported or you have built the path to the JDBC driver, right? So first, to check whether a class exists, to check whether the JDBC driver class exists, we are going to use the class.forName function, and inside it we will pass a string, and string is basically com.mysql.jdbc.driver class. So this is basically a class.forName, and we will put it in the try block. So if this class does not exist, then it will throw an exception, class not found exception. So if such class does not exist, that means that you have not registered the JDBC driver, which is used to connect our Java application to the MySQL database. So I'm going to write here JDBC not registered. So if JDBC is not registered, we are going to return. So now what I'm just going to do here is I'm going to print here system.out.println, and here I'm going to write JDBC registered, and remember that it will have to be in the main function. So I'm going to create here a public static void main function. So now we have checked whether the JDBC driver has been registered or not using this class.forName function, which is used to check whether this class exists or not. So you can see that this is com.mysql.jdbc.driver class, so which is in the reference libraries section. We have seen by navigating to this com.mysql.jdbc and here you will see the driver class. So this is how we check whether the JDBC driver is registered or not. So after it has registered, now what we are going to do is we are going to make a connection to the MySQL database. To make the connection, we are going to use the java.sql.connection class, and let's create a reference conn to this class, and let's make it as null. So now you have made this null. So the next step is to make the connection, right? So we are going to make the connection. We will have to monitor whether the connection is there or not. If it is not there, it is going to throw an SQL exception. So we will have to catch the SQL exception in the catch block, and here I will just print that my SQL database not connected, right? So now let's make a connection to the MySQL database. To make a connection, you will have to know three things about your database. One is the URL to that database. Second is the username and password. In case of localhost, since we are using the XAMPP server, it creates our database server on the local host. The username will be root and the password will be null. So let's make a connection. So we're going to assign the reference of this connection, and in order to make a connection, we will have to use driver manager class of the java.sql.driver manager, and we are going to get connection. We are going to use this get connection function to get the connection, right? If this function returns null, that means the connection will be null, and if our connection is not equal to null, then it means that our application is connected to our MySQL database, right? So I'm going to write here success connected to the database. So in the get connection function, you will have to write three parameters. All of them are string. In the first one, you will have to specify the URL that points to that database. So the format of the URL should be like this. It should be JDBC, then a colon, then MySQL, then again a colon, followed by 2 slashes, then localhost, then followed by another semicolon, and now you will have to specify the port number of the MySQL database, which we have seen in the XAMPP server configuration. So in our case it was 3304. So after slash, we are going to write the name of the database, which was CRUD in our case. In these two, we will have to fill the username. So in localhost, username is root, there is no password. So here we have created a connection to our MySQL database, which is the CRUD database. And after making this connection, we will be able to perform some MySQL queries in this database, and we will see them in the next tutorial. In this, we have just covered how to register a JDBC driver, and we know that JDBC driver is basically a tool to connect our Java application to the MySQL database, and we have used the class.forName function to see whether you have installed JDBC driver or not. Then we have use driver manager dot get connection function, which will return the whether the connection exists or not. So if it does not return null, then we're going to say yeah, you are connected to the database. So let's run this program and see the output of this program. Let's see whether it is connecting to our backend database or not. So now you can see here it says JDBC registered, and since we have registered JDBC here, you can see here that it says that JDBC is registered. That means this class exists, so it has not got any class not found exception. Then on making the connection, since it is not giving any exception and connection is not equal to none, so success, you are connected to the database. So we have now attached, or we have now connected our Java application to the backend database. In the next tutorial we are going to create a table in our database, and we will see how you can write or you can execute MySQL queries in this Java class, main app.java class, and it will just create a table in our database which we will see in our browser. So thanks for watching.